Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me JJ Flizanes. Flizanes. There we go.
Just read it. It's F-L-I.
Flizanes. So sorry. Among other things, you are an empowerment strategist who helps people with health, relationships, healing, and business, and rewiring core wounds. And I love that because that's a huge topic. And so I just want to start off by asking you, tell me about your spiritual journey. Like, what was it like growing up? And like, when did you start remembering who you are?
Well, I think I understood it intellectually much later in life, because, when you're younger and you're trying to figure out who you are and how you fit in and how to interpret the world and the people around you, like that's enough work right there. I mean, so I think while I didn't forget who I was, I didn't understand the separation, or I didn't understand the dichotomy of what we kind of live in the world. I'd always felt a part of sort of spirit family, and knew I was an eternal being, but couldn't articulate that. And I couldn't, like the first person I saw that had passed away, it was a priest of ours actually in the church. So we had just moved to maybe a couple of years prior to that. And I remember going up to see his body and I said, he's not in there. And I was like 13 and I was like, he's not in there. Like, it was so clear to me that this is like, he had been long gone. And not that I probably would have, I mean, I still see that now. Of course, everybody thinks sees that. That's pretty clear. But, some people go up to the body and treat it as if it's the person. And I'm like, no, that person is long gone. That's just a shell. And, right. So that was pretty clear. But I think probably around, I don't know, probably when I started my business, maybe 2002.
Cool.
When I was introduced to the work of Abraham Hicks, that was really sort of those words. And funny enough, Esther and I share the same birthday, not the year, but the day. I think that alignment, that resonance really was transformational.
No, I can understand that. I love that you described that. I had an instance, my first semester of grad school, where my mom's mother died, and I go to the funeral and I hold a hand of a friend who's a channeler, and I see their perspective, not the funeral perspective. And it was just so hysterical to see everybody mourning and them saying, why is she wearing glasses? She didn't need them anymore. Like, oh, they took her nail polish off, like that kind of level of conversation. So I'm listening to that. I have no idea what the minister's saying. But then I feel the celebration of, and you're finally back with us. We're waiting for you. We love you so much. And yeah, don't pay attention. That doesn't really matter anymore. So it was really cool awareness of the illusion that we have been living under. And so I love that you back in 2002 felt this calling. So what drew you to exploring the esoteric world on a deeper level as a profession?
Well, so as a Pisces, I've always been spiritual and always been interested in astrology. And, when I was, let's see, before I was 16, I think I was going around to everyone's churches, like my boyfriend's churches, my friends' churches. And I just asked the questions like, why do they do that? And we do this. Why do we do that? Like we'd have confession at the church and I just talk to and I'd ask questions and I'd be curious as to why we do any of this. And so that's sort of always been my go-to. So
That's
there's,
awesome.
and the spiritual part is more, I guess, when you have a sort of knowing, and that's what it is for me, even till today. I work with a lot of people who want levels of healing, right? And I don't work with a lot of cancer patients because I've learned cancer patients are usually a little too in a momentum of negativity or disbelief and disconnection that to tell them that their emotions will help heal them, they don't believe that. So
That
I'm
makes
not
sense.
like, it's not a good fit because I'm not going to try to convince you of something that is true, that you're so far away from that truth. And nothing I say is going to change that until you have an experience.
Right, right.
So there's a part of me that even today, like I've interviewed Dr. Kelly Turner, who wrote Radical Remission. And when I read Radical Remission, I was like, yeah, I know all this. And not from an ego perspective. Or
Right.
when I've interviewed Dr. Bruce Lipton several times, I joke that to him that I said, look, biology belief, I bought your book, didn't read it, didn't need to, not because I can explain epigenetics or I understand the science, but because I don't need to be convinced anymore. That's
Mhm.
all I need. Your beliefs change your biology. End of story. I don't need anymore. I don't
Right,
need to
right.
be proven stuff. So
Mhm.
I've kind of lived in that space forever. In fact, it's
Mm.
so to me reality. I mean, I remember sending my mom lots of Abrahams and or other people, and they just not like they'd hear it, but they wouldn't actually get it. And I'm thinking it
Mhm.
resonated so deeply for me. And so like 100% energy, I can see energy, I feel energy. Like energy is it, guys. Like that's it. And so I don't like it for me, it's more of, and I got a lot of Sag moon, Sag rising, Sag soul. And for me, that like that Sag part of me goes, I don't understand what you're missing. Like this is so obvious to me. And I don't understand how to say it any differently. Like, but let's break
Mhm.
it all down. It's been broken down. Why don't you get this? So, um, so it's just been incorporated into my life. Well, for me personally, and then into my business as a personal trainer, sort of moving into and teaching law of attraction into like when I started my podcast and really using that to because I was in a world of people that didn't want to hear all about that. Like they weren't seekers, they weren't searching. And so here
Mhm.
I am using it, changing my life, feeling amazing. Like feel like I have the biggest secret in the world. And how come everyone doesn't know this? And so when I started my podcast, it was like putting it out there and not knowing what was going to happen. In fact, I started a 6 day a week show and there was video and anyway, interviews and solo shows. And one of the days of the week was kind of like my little guilty pleasure. I called it Freedom Fridays under my Fit to Love brand. And I was like Freedom Fridays. And it was freedom because I got to talk about whatever I wanted to. I could talk about
Mm.
intuition, I could talk about law of attraction, spirituality, tarot card reading, psychic abilities, anything I wanted to talk about. And that was like giving myself permission because the clients that I currently had and in the ways that I was already known, people expected health and nutrition and exercise and even a little bit of psychology when it came to exercise and self-care. But this was my like woo woo day. And I was like, and I remember even saying in the video, hey, if you don't like it, I don't care. Like, if you don't like it, I don't care because this is for me. Because I just didn't want anyone running my parade. I wanted to
Mhm.
let them know that this was for me. And then, of course, not 2 years, but like 18 months and 350 episodes later, my intuition said they can't find you. There's too many keywords under one brand and it's not clear. So then I
Mm.
rebranded into 5 different shows. And the first one was Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. And when I put it out into the world, I had no lead magnets. I had nothing to sell people. I had no products, nothing. So I just thought, I'm just going to put this out into the world. And I took all the episodes and repurposed them. And maybe there were 15, I don't know. And that was October of 2016. And then I was working on the next one, which was Women, Men, and Relationships. And I put that out in December of 2016. Well, by December of 2016, 2 months after I launched Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, I was getting emails. Oh my God, this is changing my life. I want more. And I was like, what? Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, so I created a manifestation challenge, a 30 manifestation challenge that I launched in January of 2017. And then from there, it just became this snowball effect of the show taking off. And of course, it should not be a surprise because it's the one thing I was lit up about. It's the one thing I was in high frequency about. And it was the
Mhm.
one thing that people were responding to and wanted more of. And the rest of it was fine. And I did it as a test anyway, just like say to the universe, hey, I have all this content, all this information, all these ideas, what do you want me to do? And it was like literally just a vulnerable opening up and saying, I'm going to give you all I got. I want to keep talking about all these things, but I don't know where I should sort of focus. And then
Mm.
that was a very easy, you should focus here because you explain it well to those that are skeptics. Like I can dance with both sides. I mean, I'm like sort of that middle 50% brain, if you will, that can go it's all the way woo woo and all the way to science and then find the middle and explain to whomever on whatever side what they don't understand.
Mm.
And so then the show kind of took off, and from there, I've leaned into and allowed. It's funny because in my membership earlier this week, there's a new member, and she came to me through a doctor. She did my one of my programs. We've had one session, and then she heard me talking about crystal grids and cards and right. And she said she emailed me today, and she was like, I don't know if this is the right group for me. I'm not really comfortable. And I was like, okay. I said, well, do you like talk about that all the time? I said, no, but we're going to talk about it. So if it does make you, I'm never going to ask you to do something uncomfortable, but maybe examine why it makes you uncomfortable because it's cool to have a different belief.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking anyone to change. And in fact, I wasn't even directing that at her. I was directing it at someone specifically. But but I'm like, put out your crystal grid and like call in your spirit guides and like meditate to find the answers. And that was way too woo woo for her. But she may not stay. But but it's been inching into allowing and kind of gaining the trust to dance between both worlds. I've always
Mhm.
sort of had a foot in and a foot out, and have a lot of spiritual support to be doing the work that I'm doing, and to remember. And I have to keep remembering, because if I don't remember who I really am, then I'll get lost in this world, and
Yeah.
it won't be fun, because if you play by the rules of, only physical beings who don't remember that they're non-physical mostly, then that's not an existence I want to be having a good time with. So, so, so it's been gradual. It's been a gradual, because, and it, with my marriage, I only grew as far as I thought he would accept. So that
Mm.
was hard. And I didn't even realize that until it was over and I had perspective. Because if you would have said he's holding you back, he even said to me, I'm holding you back. But if someone would have said he's holding you back, I said, that's ridiculous. I'm an entrepreneur. I write books. I have my own podcast. I can say what I want.
Mhm.
I make my rules. But I didn't realize that I was making the rules and sort of checking in with who's going to think I'm nuts and who's going to leave me. And so
Mm.
once that marriage transitioned and I manifested my best friend and partner in crime and soulmate after him. They both were soulmates. I had to go through that. That was my school. That was my
Mhm.
mastery education in learning how to be in relationship, uncovering my own core wounds, and learning how to be a master of law of attraction when you're in a situation that isn't what you hoped it could be, and how
Mm.
to vibrate high and be not in a fake way, like how to really truly be happy and appreciative and attract in more. So that way, when that transition happened from one guy to the next, I wasn't even trying to leave. I was just like, you go handle yourself. Maybe in a year you'll be in a place that we can reconnect and see if this is going to work. And then the minute I let go, the minute I stopped gripping onto what I thought was best or what I thought needed to happen, the universe is like, here. I was like, wait, what do you mean?
Wow.
I don't want somebody else. I want it to work out with that guy. Universe is like, it's not gonna work out with that guy. Like all the things you keep writing about that you really want, they're in this guy. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I didn't wanna, I'm very committed. I don't want to get divorced. The universe is like,
Mhm.
no matter. If you want what you want, it isn't in that guy. It's in this guy. I was like, oh.
Mm.
So
I love that because I was in a relationship for 16 years and I had this massive growth. And so I had the situation where I was house sitting for a couple months and with the intent of leaving. And he said, "Oh, I'll do all these things. I'll do all these things." And I come back and he didn't do any of those things. And it was like, and I remember at one point he said, "Stop growing. I can't keep up." I'm like,
yeah,
"Yep, that's a
that's
sign."
exactly what was told to me too. I was
Yeah,
not stop growing, but it was more like I can't keep up and I'm not gonna try.
yeah. And that's okay.
Right.
But it's also like that weird, like, huh, frequency is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and what I learned through my current relationship is that you don't have to keep up. You just have to be
Mhm.
okay with the expansion. I mean, my
Right.
wings got to expand in this relationship. I've doubled what I make. I've doubled my living. I own a house. I like all the things that I live in California, so that's like a big deal.
It is. Yeah, it
It's
is.
not cheap here. It's not like I'm in Ohio.
Especially if you're not in weed. So
Right. Like in a really good area,
yeah,
I
yeah,
own a house.
yeah.
Right. Because for the rest of people, like, what are you talking about? I own a house. Right. Anyway,
Yeah.
so people here, it takes a minute if you are a self-made person and you
Yeah.
don't have it's not being handed down to you from generation to
Right,
generation.
right, right.
Yeah, I expanded and I got to look back and say, "Oh my God, he was right. He was holding me back." But he wasn't trying to. It's just that
Right.
when you want to try to be with somebody, you love somebody, you don't want to outgrow them. That's like, but
Mhm.
unfortunately on the spiritual path, you're gonna outgrow a lot of people. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean you don't want to try to still connect with them, but you have to listen to your own inner calling and inner being. And I help a lot of people. And if I was to stay small, to be connected to my family or to my ex more than I am now, of course, then a lot of people like would suffer. And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I even had somebody apply for a program the other week and she's been listening for 4 years, 5 years, 2019.
Wow.
And she cried. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm like starstruck." She's like, "I've been listening, you've changed my life." I mean, but that I get that all the time.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if I wasn't walking this path, one of my neighbors is someone who started listening to my show, and she brought me this little angel she made out of shells. And she said, she brought it to me, and because she came to pick up some pixies. We have a massive amount of citrus that we're growing, and I hate food waste. So I'm like, who wants some? Please come get them.
Oh,
And she
awesome.
picked them up, and she handed me this little gift, and she's like, this is for you, because it's a little angel that I made because you are an angel to many people that you don't even know. And I was right. So I play with that, like,
Yeah.
okay. And sometimes that means when you're, Abraham says it best, like when you're sort of on the leading edge, there's not a lot of people out here. So it can kind of be lonely.
Mhm.
The majority of the people are not over here.
Right. No, I get that. I get that. Like I've had to like, because if I speak the way I want to speak, most people are like, what? So I'm like, okay, let me see if I can use frequency and resonance because most people get radio. So I'm like trying to like, okay, so like if somebody leaves your life, there's nothing wrong with that. You're just in different frequencies. And they're like, I kind of get that.
What word would you use other than frequency?
Oh, like you're just in a different spiritual path
Oh,
or
okay.
or something even more esoteric than that. And if I try to explain it with animals, there's just like, wait, animals have frequencies, animals have souls. What are you talking about? Energy and animal? It's just fascinating. It's a fascinating awareness to shift in like how your energy affects everyone in your life and how you get to be more accountable for how you show up in the world. That's just a fast, especially with your animals.
Right. Well, and then there are people that I was working with a client the other day who he's someone who's sort of, I really hate the word in recovery because anyway, I'm like, are you recovered yet? Can we be done with this in recovery label? Because it makes you sound broken.
Yeah.
You aren't the only person. Everyone has addictions to all
Mhm.
kinds of things. Sometimes they're
Mhm.
not substances, they're just control or ideas or beliefs or stories. But anyway, he's in my mastermind and we were talking about like who he's going to serve. And I said, because there's a lot of people who he deals with that he could help. And I said,
Mm,
right, but they may not be in a place for you to help them because they
right.
aren't ready to invest in themselves.
Mhm.
They're not yet on the path. And so I wanted him to compartmentalize what those indicators are. Like who's someone who is in stage 1? What does that look like? And who's stage 2? Because at stage 4, they're the ones like you who are even himself. He came to my event, my last event, which was in 2022, sat around, did my entire event called Awaken Your Dream Life, sat around the circle, end of the circle, going back, has the microphone and says, I really understand more than I ever have after this event of how much I really don't like myself.
Mm.
And then he goes to pass the mic and I'm like, I said, I'm like, my hand's up. He didn't even look at me. And I just waited. I was like, can I help you? He's like, oh, yeah. And now he's like, shoo, like a completely different person and is in
Wow.
this amazing place. And I had to remind him, look, you didn't come to me. I mean, you did, you came to my event, but
Yeah.
you didn't hand me the piece of paper and say, here's my money. I want to work with you.
Mhm.
I had to say to you, can I help you? So
Yeah.
remember, there are indicators to me. The indicator for you was you came to the event, you paid for the event, you participated in the event, you were vulnerable during the event, like you were ready, you were
Mhm.
in. So that we have to discern, especially spiritual people who are more empathetic. You have to discern. You can't use the excuse that, oh, I'm an empath, therefore the world a scary place and I'm going to always be affected by everybody's negative energy, so I'm going
Right.
to hide or I'm going to blame you for having negative energy. No, 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 no. That's not how. You have to learn how to protect your energy. You have to learn to
Mhm.
clear your energy. You have to learn how to be with people and discern who you let into a certain degree. Otherwise, you're just playing a victim, which is the same thing they're doing.
Right.
Right. Like you're not any better. You're just aware of what's happening.
Right.
But if you're a super sensitive empath, then
Mhm.
you have more work to do to be
Mhm.
in the world.
Right.
And it doesn't
Oh,
mean you have
yeah.
to be with everybody else. It just means we have to decide and discern and be okay with and allow people to be on their journey without us and say, well, we're not going to connect here, but maybe we can just connect in a different way on a very broad level. And I don't have
Mhm.
to try to convince them of something that
Right.
they aren't ready for. It's like that's an important lesson, not only in
Mhm.
business, but in life. And most people think, well, if I said this and you didn't understand me, then there's something wrong with you or there's something wrong with me. And I'm like, but frequency would be, no, we're just literally living, we're interpreting differently, we're feeling differently, we're thinking differently, which means we should stop trying to have this conversation
Right.
because it's going nowhere.
Right. And to have that awareness of like, oh, wait, no, they just don't, they're not hearing it. And that's okay because, like, I think part of the perception of healers is that well, we woke up and we want to help everybody. And not everybody's ready for the helping.
Not everybody wants the helping.
Right.
Like, literally will say, one of my clients is she's a breast cancer thriver and is anyway, so her whole family, like, I think that she's got 4 cancering people in her family, and when she went back to visit, her brother literally said to her, "We don't wanna do what you did. That's too hard," because she was trying to, like, help everybody, and he basically shut her down and said, "We don't want it, so just don't even try." But at least he said it so he could, like,
Yeah.
get her to stop trying.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I had a friend last year that I hadn't seen in a while, and she's got massive anxiety. I said, I could help you with that. And she's like, oh no, no, I don't no, I'm happy with my anxiety. I'm like, okay, like I could just feel like she wasn't happy with her anxiety, but she just didn't want to look at the traumas that would cause her to feel the anxiety. I'm like, okay, that's where you are in your journey. But it was also kind of painful to see it.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad to sit by and I mean, I have another client who's 4th time breast cancer, and
Oh
she's not an
wow.
active client, like, she's not someone I see on a regular basis in,
Okay.
like, a one-on-one situation, but she just applied for a program that I'm doing that she should be in, and she applied, and then again, she said no again, and I just think to myself, I shake my head and go, "Okay, well, I don't know how many more lessons you need, to know that you need to deal with this," because
Yeah.
this is why this is why I do the core wound work, because while I am right brained in so many ways, the left brain piece of it, it's like building a house. Like, there are just things in life. Like, you want to build a house, you're going to hire an architect. You
Mm.
are not going to go out and try to build a house by yourself.
Right.
You're just not,
Right, right.
because you don't even know what's involved. All right.
Mhm.
So when it comes to, like, core wounds and doing emotional work, to me, if you don't understand what you're trying to heal, well, how can you gauge when you're getting someplace?
Mhm.
So we have these, like, little moments of relief or moments of being different in the same situation. But if we don't understand sort of the through line of what, like, the healing process is, or why we're choosing what we're choosing in the healing process, then we can't really have an understanding of how far we've come. We might be able to have glimpses of,
Right.
like, oh, cool, like, I did that differently, or yeah, I
Mhm.
generally feel better. But then we have someone that gets super triggered. There's another patient, cancer patient client. I'm not patients, but she worked with me years ago, and I'm again, what I do now is way deeper than what I did then, and she's has 4-stage liver cancer, and
Mhm.
I want her to do a medicine journey with me, and she was all going to do it, and then when the doctor said, okay, but do this first, and now, like, she's, like, actively dying, and I'm like, I don't understand, because again, the sad parts of me go, I would do everything. I would try everything. And this is where we go into some healers, or somewhere after she left me, people convinced her that feeling a negative emotion would cause her cancer. So what, of course, has she done? As we know, the liver is where we store anger. She had breast cancer, and that went away, and then it moved to the liver, right? Because she repressed all her anger. I'm like, she didn't
Mhm.
cry at her mother's funeral. She's very when you have trauma and you have to overcome, like, you compensate,
Oh,
you have to
yeah.
be tougher, so to speak, or people think you have to be tougher in order to
Right.
survive. So she's been in survival mode for a long time. And,
Mm.
and I'm just sitting here going, I really, really want to help you. Yes, it's going to cost money. It's not free, but it's also valuing and trusting and being ready to receive. When I
Yeah.
coach my mastermind clients, I don't want anyone giving anything for free.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's just, if you're just starting out and you want to test out your stuff, do it as a group and ask for a donation or something. But
Mhm.
there's an energy to, I invest in me, therefore I can receive what you're giving me. And if it's
Mhm.
free, a lot of times people don't value it the same way, because
Right.
because there's no skin in the game. Like, we
Mhm.
have to be able to open up energetically with some kind of risk, with some kind of expectation, and with some kind of, it's energy.
Yeah.
You give me energy, I give you energy. One's in the form of money and one's in the form of healing,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Right. But too many healers are giving shit away for free all the time, and then wonder why
Right.
they're exhausted and frustrated and poor.
Right. Right. No, I get that. I get that because it's like such a it's I think it's a it feels like it's a past life energy program running like, "Oh, you can be a healer, but you can't be wealthy," which is a weird thing because, like, what we're doing is helping others remember who they are, which is the best investment anyone can make. Like, there's nothing material that could possibly be as important as remembering are divinity. That's just
Agreed. No,
my
agreed.
personal opinion. So like, and having having gone the academic route, I could have taken a fraction of that money and like done so much more healing on myself back in 2000 to 2006 that I didn't know I needed at the time. But like with the awareness I have now, I would have happily taken that to myself. I mean, I've subsequently spent a lot of money on myself because I love myself. And that journey of the self-love, like for me, I can't think of anything I'd rather spend money on than helping myself. And if that's nutrition, that's energy
Mhm,
healing, that's
mhm,
coaching, that's whatever it is that I need to help me remove the subconscious programs
mhm.
that I know are here because I'm in a body, um, it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, I even the one person who said no because she's not ready. Oh my gosh, like you said, it's really sad to watch sometimes people who you want to help. And, and then I just wondered, is it me? Am I not explaining this right enough, like well enough? Am I not really making this clear that if you don't understand these things and some of the things you may be doing may not be getting you the effect that you want, or you may be choosing the wrong modalities, or that you could be making a lot faster progress if you understood how to change and rewire your core wound patterns. But until you know them, how do you know what you're rewiring? How do you
Right.
what You're not making conscious choices. You're
Hmm.
making, accidental choices, and some of them maybe work great. But isn't it nice to know when you build the house or when you put the thing together that you got all the screws in the right places, right? So
Yeah.
the foundation is strong, and so you don't
Right.
fear that your roof is going to fall in or that your
Right.
bottom's going to fall out, which is what happens when we subsequently put ourselves in situations that are different circumstances, and all of a sudden we get triggered, and then we
Hmm.
think that all the work we've done went down the toilet because we got triggered, because we can't understand why we got triggered, because we don't even
Right.
understand what that's about. So that's what
Right.
I'm saying, having this awareness. I've had people come to me and say, oh, I have spent $200,000 on Joe Dispenza's course and blah blah blah, and I don't know why I still keep doing these patterns. And I'm like, well, that's the one thing you're going to get from me, guaranteed. You'll never ask why again. You'll know exactly why you get triggered, how you react, why you respond, where that comes from. All of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Whether you change it or not, it's a different story, but
Right.
you'll never again ask why. Why do I keep doing these same patterns over and over again? So I think it's like I think that this piece ultimately, as personal training before, and the body is very important. But what I said recently is that the physical body cannot make up the difference. Like treating yourself, like having the best nutrition and all the right things that you do cannot make up for a negative energy system and and negative emotions. But your positive emotions and your clean energy system can make up for bad health things. Not
Yeah.
like I want people to eat crap and then just focus on being happy, but like, right, like I have a brand called, last year I created, I have a wine brand, and the wine is called High Vibrational Wines.
Awesome.
And I created it because I have half the wine that I get in the store that's organic. I don't like it. And if I'm going to have a glass of wine, I don't want to suffer through it. I want to enjoy it. So I went to the region where, and I have a wine podcast too, but I went to the
Awesome.
region where I love the wine, and I said, how do I make the wine I love better? Well, I supercharged it and I super cleansed it, and I
Oh,
made
that's
sure that it
cool.
was glyphosate farming free. And so now I drink my own wine because it's high vibrational, and everyone that drinks it reports not getting drunk, not having hangovers, not having headaches, whatever. And I can't prove any of that, but I can tell you with my own energy systems what I did to prepare this wine and how it even stays stored in my closet in the guest bedroom with crystals on it and under a earthing blanket. And right. So I
Oh
mean,
man, I love that.
yeah. So that's my high vibrational wine brand that eventually I will figure out how to sell better than I do now, because it's not a focal point. It
No,
was
but
like,
I love that because like I haven't been able to drink any alcohol since 2000. My system just was like, nope, you're done. And so I don't look 55. But I miss having the occasional glass. Like I have a sip and my whole digestive system just collapses. I'm like,
mm,
okay, that's just not for me. And that's okay, but I miss it. So the fact that you're like setting that much intention in it
mhm.
make gives me hope.
Well, watch the video. It's 14 minutes. And if it resonates, maybe consider trying it. I mean, nothing else, you could give out the other bottle away. You could buy one bottle. I mean, but I have a 2 bottle special. I'm happy to give you a discount on it. Um, yeah, but if it resonates, and that's
Yeah.
why I did it. I did it because I want to make sure that even if it wasn't sprayed with glyphosate. I make sure
Hmm.
of that.
That's huge.
Right, especially here in California. But but things happen, and
Mhm.
farmers want their crops to survive. There's stuff that's going to happen, but I wanted
Right.
to elevate its frequency enough that that
Mhm.
kind of stuff won't bother me because it's at a high frequency.
Right, right, and stuff like that. I mean, it's such like, the more I found a report this week that, like, 90% of cheese, and I adore cheese, has, like, a Pfizer created rennet that's genetically modified, and I was like, "Ugh, another one?"
Hmm.
I mean, because I do the hair, I have the right hair shampoo. It's like European, so it has like I've done all the things to make sure that I'm minimizing the impact as much as I possibly can. And yet then another thing surfaces. I'm like, okay, all right, this is okay. I'll just not eat cheese again until I find the one that doesn't have Pfizer rennet.
Yeah, and I hear you. And if it's comfortable, but see, for me, there's also a point of blessing it. There's a
Hmm.
point of raising its frequency so that
Right.
that stuff sort of runs through you.
Hmm.
It's not a blanket statement to then again, like I said, eat crap or do nothing
Right.
physically, but we can't outrun all of the toxins.
Right.
It's just a part of our lives. So between detoxing and then making choices and then staying in alignment and having our highest vibration and trying to have and eat the most highest vibrational foods
Hmm.
and even treat it, at some point there has to be a trust that it's going to be okay. And as long as, and for me, this conversation of frequency, as long as I'm at the highest frequency, again, I'm going to zig while everybody zags. The stuff that happens to you is not going to happen to me,
Hmm.
because it's not going to be in alignment. So I have a
Right.
better chance. My body's a better chance of filtering and doing
Hmm.
what it's supposed to do
Hmm.
for things that don't belong in my body.
Right.
As long as I'm doing it all sort of in a higher frequency.
Mhm, mhm. No, I definitely get that because, like, it's the way I've learned it is the integrated approach of, like, the nutrition and the supplements and the paying attention to where my frequency lies, and that dance of the exercise and the meditation, and today, before our podcast, I lay in the grass. We haven't had sun in Oregon in, like, 2 months. And today it was sunny, so I lay out in the grass for a half hour because like my body's like, please ground me. I need this so badly. And it just felt like so I know it's an integrated approach and really paying attention to how you feel. Like on a moment to moment basis, like I feel such a good resonance with you because I feel your frequency, I feel your heart, I feel where you're coming from, and it's beautiful.
Thank
There are other people in my life where I'm like, "No, thank you."
you. Right. That's one of the beauties of podcasting. I have done stage speaking for a long time and mostly health related things in the past. And I'm pretty good at closing people in the audience because again, it's scientific. I could learn how to break down and say something in a way that most people can understand or hear. But when it comes to this like conversation of spirituality and law of attraction, right? I do have experience in rooms like corporate America. I remember them like one of my topics was power positive thinking, right? So it's like learning how to speak a language of frequency, like the car example of, okay, so remember when you bought your last car? Do you remember that before you bought your last car, you didn't even like pay attention to that kind of car? But then the minute that you bought your car, you saw your car everywhere. Well, did
Mhm,
everybody buy your car at the same time? No, you are now in alignment with the frequency of that car. So that car
mhm,
is front and center, and now you're tuned to that car, and now you see it everywhere,
mhm,
right? So, like being able to explain it to layman people who are like, this is not the like necessarily appropriate place. I mean, but it was for work purposes, and so I
mhm,
always worked in, of course, like how that helps you do customer service or
mhm,
be productive at your job or have better feel good at your job and appreciate whatever. And because then I was being paid by corporate companies to do this. But podcasting has been like, I'm intense. So people like who meet me in person will be like, whoa, like you need to calm down. I'm like, don't tell me to calm down. I'm not going to calm down. This is who I am. Um, but like when I moved from New York to California, like, oh, you just came from New York. And I was like, you'll calm down. I'm like, I'm not going to calm down. I said, this is what I like. I have a lot of fire and New
mhm.
York is my energy, except it's a little bit masculine and it's definitely in too much fear for me right now. But,
Right.
California became like, no, I'm going to hold this space in this space. and I'm just going to figure out what that means for me.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to have to feed off of anybody necessarily. Not that I need to, I can feed off of source energy, but
Right.
podcasting became a way to attract people. Like I
Mhm.
love podcasting because the minute you start listening, you'll be like, nope, not for me. Or you're going to be like, oh my God. Like I had somebody, one of
Mhm.
my listeners, he was moving from New York to, I forget, I think Arizona. Before he left New York, though, he was looking at manifestation. This is a long time ago, manifestation stuff. And he heard me say, "You're the creator of your own reality." He was like, "Nope, not listening to her. Nope, I did not ask for this. I did not want this." But then he got curious and he binged my whole show on the drive and he became an avid fan on the way down to Arizona. But he came back. He's a Pisces too. So I think he probably felt me, but then wasn't ready to really receive.
Yeah.
No, but podcasting is a way for me to sort of, when I trigger people now, I love it. I'm like, oh yeah, bring it on. Cause I'm not talking to you. I don't know you. So if what I said
Mhm.
triggers you, oh, we just found a wound. Like that is
Mhm.
good information for you to take and now go work on it. Because if
Oh,
you think
yeah.
yelling at me and telling me to say something differently is going to help you in any way or makes any sense whatsoever, people say, JJ, stop talking so much. I'm like, it's my show. Like,
Right.
no, I won't stop talking. This is a show I pay for and I produce and I give it to you for free. I
Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
care what you have to say unless you're paying me. Goodbye.
Mhm.
Right? Like, do
Mhm.
you not know how this works? You just logged onto a channel and downloaded something that I put together, paid for, and gave it to you for free. You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I get it. Because like for me, triggers are like the biggest gift because I can't see everything. And so when I was living down in Wheat, California, which is outside of Shasta, I had a friend who would like almost daily, just like, and I go, "Oh, thank you so much. I didn't know this was in me." And I'm like feeling the feelings while I'm processing. And he's like, "Okay." I'm like, "No, no, no. This was so good for me because I had no idea it was in here. And I'm sorry you have to watch me cry, but I have to get it out at the same time." And he's like, "Uh-huh. Yeah, that's great." But it was beautiful because like he helped me master how to be present with myself while I'm feeling something I don't want to feel.
Hmm.
And that's not mass consciousness yet.
Or ever. We got a lot of new souls on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not, that's not, I mean, hopefully we'll reincarnate when there's a little older soul taking over the planet. But right now, no, that's not going to be mass consciousness. So, I had a therapist once say to me, she was a medical intuitive. And this is before I was doing my podcast, or maybe right when I started, and I was talking about who I wanted to work with and attract. And she basically said to me, she had some anger issues, some repression stuff. She said to me, she's like, well, you're not going to have like millions of people. I was like, that's fine. What you think I want to sell out and get millions of people versus I actually want to talk about what I want to talk about? Like, I just want like, I'll take whatever Abraham's population is. Like, that's good. Like, I can
Yeah.
have those people. Those people would listen to me.
Yeah, yeah.
They'd be interested in what I'm talking about. That's plenty
Mhm.
of people. I don't need more than those people.
I love that. Yeah, I've had some people like, "Well, you should market this better." I'm like, "I literally am international. It's not a huge following, but I'm international. So the people that want to hear the content find me." And that's beautiful because like the content I create is for the people that want to hear it. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the fact that I was called to do this and I get to meet people like you and have these amazing conversations. And if anyone feels the alignment for it, that's great. And that's it. Same as
Yeah.
you. I'm like, "Yep, this is my public service. This is my sole contract to use the gifts I have to share content."
Yeah. I feel you.
I know you do.
I did it too. And it worked. And it's working. And I have a good business and a good
Yeah.
life. And so do you. So yeah. And I really love it's like when I try to, like, I have this thing with advertising or marketing where I didn't want to go straight to the podcast because it always works better when someone's listening for a while and they sought me out. Like I'll always say, well, how did you find me? Oh, I found your show. What were you looking for when
Mhm.
you clicked on? Because
Mhm.
that gives me information. And those people always do the best because they were
Oh,
literally
yeah.
searching and then they found me and they feel like, oh my God, thank God I found you because they were looking for something specific. And so it's
Mhm.
hard for, you can't, when people are ready, they search. And when they're not ready, if you shove it in front of their faces too soon, the timing might be off and they may not be able to receive you or whatever you have to say or whatever gifts they're meant to get. And you might not be the right person for them. But when they're
Right.
ready and they're searching and they find you, that's the biggest impact. My show grew because people shared it with other people, not because I did anything to
Right.
promote it except normal stuff on Facebook or Instagram with my own, like, I didn't pay for ads for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done conferences or anything like or been sponsoring things as my show, except my own stuff. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like really great when your people like have sent your episode to everybody they know.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that organic growth because it feels more genuine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. More impactful too.
Right. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how you help people a little bit more because I'm just so curious what your methods are for helping. Is it intuitive? Is it like, do you sense somebody where they're at and just hit them with it, or is it like a process?
So I wouldn't have ever led with I'm intuitive and I intuitively guide you. Never would have led with that.
Okay.
However, my audience would tell you you're like psychic and you say shit that like you shouldn't know about. So that's been learned.
Okay.
Okay, that's been allowed because I had a healer that I was working with that she and I would do all my events together and literally because she's a like she clears inherited emotional DNA. Okay, she does
Oh,
energy
cool.
code work but she's also highly clairaudient and clairvoyant. So but I have to tell you, every time she's like, I'd be right with her. Not that I was getting those messages the same way, but
Mhm.
there'd be times like I have noticed my own clairvoyance, my own clairaudience, my own uh, um, cognizance, where I've gotten a picture of like someone has said this is happening. I could see the picture of who it is, and then that's who it is, or
Mhm.
whatever. Like little things that have happened. I've been able to strengthen my own intuition over the course of doing since 2018, since doing all my events, and allowing myself to do that, like
Mm.
allowing myself to tap in. I channel more than I know. To me, I would just tell you I'm in alignment, but someone say, no, you're channeling. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not channeling like a dead person. I'm not channeling some spirit. I'm just channeling. I'm connected
Mhm.
and it's coming through me.
Mhm.
Right. But
Mhm.
everybody can do that and everybody can connect to source and everybody can get downloads and everybody can channel to a certain extent, depending on how connected you are. I just basically rewired my own brain over the last
Mm.
couple of years. And so for me on the linear side, what I do, one of the most, when I was getting divorced, one of the most impactful therapies to save my marriage and something I had been really like on top of the entire time, which was imago therapy by Harville Hendricks. And he has a core wound exercise in his work. And when I did that exercise in the therapy that we were doing, it changed my life right then and there. That exercise, see,
Mhm.
my moon is in Sag. So how I process emotion is sort of look like truth seeking. It's
Okay.
information based. And once I understand something, I will make the change. Once I see a pattern, because literally my ex-husband would tell me the same thing all the time. That's not going to work. That's not working. It's not working. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I kept doing it. But the minute on this exercise that I saw my pattern,
Mhm.
it very deeply hit me. And I went, oh my God. And
Mhm.
I instantly stopped doing it because
Mhm.
I saw it differently. It
Mhm.
made sense. I could take a broader perspective. I could be an observer of my own patterns in life and go, oh, okay. I've been doing this my whole life. Okay, I understand that now. And so I instantly made that change. Well, so for
Mhm.
years I was teaching this exercise and doing it in my groups and with clients. And because again, I'm thinking, because this is how you always start off, you go, this really helped me like this. So you share with everybody what helped you, but
Mhm.
then you go and you watch people who don't react to it the same way you do. They're
Mhm.
like, oh, well, how come you don't think this is amazing? How come you're not changing? They're like, why do you like? But
Right.
again, because everyone's mood is different, everyone processes
Mhm.
emotion differently. So I was like, oh, they don't process like I do. So over the course of the last 5 years, I created a certification with the tools that I use, and then that went to a 6 month deep dive, which was last year. And then last year, I tried to make it like a 3 month thing. And I'm like, no, there's just not enough time. 3 months is
Right.
not enough time to make big momentum and changes in somebody's brain patterns and
Mhm.
belief
Mhm.
systems. But I did 3 months and I was like, I'm never going to do 3 months again because it's too short and it's too much data. And then as I was in this 6 month deep dive with his clients, most of them were air signs, which was a blessing because it got me to go, okay, you guys are all air signs. And so you think a lot.
Mhm.
You understand the concepts, but you're not taking action. And it was there that I created the rewiring your core wound pattern program.
Mm.
And it's working. It's taking this exercise and going 3 levels deeper with it. So
Oh,
basically,
cool.
what I help people do is identify their top 3 core wounds, this and what the circuit looks like. So the minute your subconscious it has an interpretation that's a trigger, that's a core wound, you have 2 or 3 emotions that are all that you have all the time, and
Mhm.
then you do or you react in a certain way pretty much the same time every time. Okay. So that's the circuit. So
Okay.
first you have to become observant of the circuit so that you understand when you're in the pattern.
Mhm.
Oh, that was triggered. That trigger of feeling devalued made me become sad and mad and rebel.
Mm.
And rebelling looks like withdrawing or doing something destructive or bad for somebody else. All right, so that's the first circuit you have to understand. But what we don't realize is that our core wounds, yes, they're beliefs that get set in our subconscious when we're young because we decide my
Mhm.
mother or dad or caregiver didn't do this, therefore it means this. But we keep them alive. They're our
Mhm.
foundation too. They're our belief system. So if you have to take another step and go, well, how do I keep devalued alive?
Mhm.
What do I do, JJ? Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever, that keeps devalued alive? How do I devalue
Mm.
myself? And so you start to unpack the ways in which you contribute to strengthening and keeping these core wounds alive. So that's the second step.
Okay.
The third step is how do I proactively how you reactively change is if you know your circuit pattern and you know that at the end you rebel or you withdraw or you whatever, you do the
Mhm.
opposite. So if you can catch
Right.
the pattern, you can just do the opposite. But we don't want to wait to be triggered.
Right.
So what can I proactively do to change devalued? How can I value myself? How
Mm.
can I create neuroplasticity to stretch beyond my comfort zone to create a new neural pathway that says I'm valuable?
Mm.
And that's when we get to pick out for you, each individual person. It's a high level program for this reason, because it's not a cookie cutter. It's literally
Right,
the
right, right.
person. Every person, we have to decide together, how are you going to, how can we stretch you? And it's also why people who come into the program have to have listened to at least 10 to 20 episodes of mine, because if you don't trust me, we're not going to have the same success rate. You
Mhm.
have to know going in, this is not about my ego or being right. You
Right,
have to
right, right.
understand that I want the best for you. I want you to change, and I am going to push you. It's funny because now that I think about that out loud, I used to have trouble in relationships with women because I don't have a sister. I have a brother, and we weren't close. We're very, very different. But I think I always desired a sister. And I think some spiritual person once told me that I was a twin in the womb and that she died. But anyway, whatever, if that was true or not, I don't have a soul sister. And so anytime I'd find a friend, this is years ago before my sort of awakening, but I would attach to them, and then half the time they'd want to be like me. They'd be like, "Oh my God, blah, blah, blah." So I would try to coach them back then as a non-coach the way that I would want to do things. And I would inevitably, relationship after relationship here, you push me too hard. Well, now I get paid to push people. So so you come and I push you and I say you be prepared to be pushed because we're going to break these patterns. It's going to be
Right.
uncomfortable, but that's the point of neuroplasticity. It's like exercise. If you're good at the exercise you do, your body doesn't need to change. So
Mhm.
if you keep repeating the patterns that are comfortable to you, then your brain doesn't need to make a new pathway.
Right, right, right.
So, but it's all stretching into greater confidence, greater self-love and respect, right,
Mhm.
greater value of yourself. So that's kind of how I work with people right now. It's creating this what I call the core wound map. So we create the core wound map, and then from that we work the map, and we work it in a 3 or 6 month program along with some other information. Astrology,
Mhm.
of course, is one of them. um Intuition is another. Like there's all kinds of stuff in
Yeah.
that, but it's really looking at the patterns. And then yeah, and then I will come up with stuff that, my intuition guides me all the time, that what do I think is good for them or for me based on, if someone has a problem in I'll pull out the folder. I'll be like, well, let's go back and look. Well, your core wounds are this. Well, of course, this is how you're acting. And they're like, oh my God, yeah. But it's always to bring it forward, to have a
Yeah.
conscious relationship with our choices.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you go into default mode. And when you're in default
Mhm.
mode, you're just going to repeat the patterns that are already set. And I'm striving to help people create new patterns.
Mm. I love that. That is so beautiful because, like, you can beat around the bush and find all the different layers of the onion, peel all the layers down, and then you still have these things that, you've touched the surface or maybe several layers down, but you still haven't gotten down to that, like, the base of everything. And so that's really, like, essential for, like, thriving again because we all come in with these ideas of like what we think we're going to like the contracts we've had and how we're going to like charge and forth in the world, and then we get caught in these programs and beliefs and past life things and ancestral stuff that we signed up for, but we don't have the awareness of. So that is a powerful system, and I just want to honor you for that because I appreciate the way you described it. I appreciate that you're doing this. And I'm also aware of the fact that I have to wrap this up soon because we both have other contracts. So while I want to keep talking to you, because I'm really enjoying this, and I'm an Aquarius, so I completely understand everything you're saying. Um, I'm going to ask, how can people find you?
JJFlizanes.com, JJFlizanes.com. Everything is there. Lots of free stuff, lots of free stuff, and just, then all my courses and everything. Everything is there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I
I appreciate it.
I am so grateful that you reached out and had this conversation with me because you just totally lit up so many synopses, and it's just, I feel the heart resonance. I feel you. I'm so grateful that you're doing this work in the world, and I just honor you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you're doing and getting things out into the world like this, and that the intention and passion behind what you're doing will help spread more light and love to all the people that are looking for it. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome.